I always felt like if somebody put their keys on your desk, you took them. Somebody puts their keys on your desk, you take them because if they don't want to be there, all that they are going to do is create as many headaches as possible for them, for you, so that they can get what they want.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, our cavalcade of stars. I'm going to start off with our captain for life, Will Cotton. Cotton Man, welcome back to live episodes, baby. What's going on?
How's it going on? Summer's ending, so we're back.
Yes. And rather apropos, as I get ready to go back to the grind of the educational system, our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, who is still on the consulting side. How you doing, man?
I'm living the dream and I'm not going back to school. So there you go.
Oh, that's funnier for more reasons than it should be. But fans, on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, we're going to talk James Harden. And we're going to talk about it in the way that the fans, you need to understand how this is going to work out. We're going to introduce you to the FIBA World Cup because that's starting this week in the Philippines, the WNBA Week in Review, and got to close the show with the NBA Hall of Fame. Outstanding class of 2023, and we will send our salutes. But we'll pause on that potential 2024 class. Is it the Hall of Fame or is it the Hall of Very Good? But first, James Harden. So, gentlemen, watching the James Harden situation play out is like watching scenes from some of my favorite movies. So bear with me. Fans often hear us say, this is the business, and that comes from Purple Rain. And I'm going to just briefly break down that scene so you can understand. So Billy is the manager. Prince is called the kid. He is the artist. Billy is upset that the artist is bringing personal things to the stage. So Billy says to him, this is a business, and you ain't too far gone to see that yet. And then the added part that we usually don't tell you is the next line is, I told you before, you're not packing them in like you used to. Nobody digs your music but yourself. Takes me to James Harden. Now, James Harden's going to be 34. And James Harden has had a stellar career, and bless his heart. But James Harden, quite frankly, is not worth the hassle anymore. So he has called the 76ers president, Daryl Morey, a liar. And he says, I've been patient all summer. He says, for me, it's time to focus on doing whatever he needs to do to get out. Daryl Morey is a liar. I'll never be a part of an organization he's a part of. And let me say that again. So he wanted to make sure that he said it. And gentlemen, that then took me to 48 hours. 48 hours is Eddie Murphy's first movie. And he played with Nick Nolte. And Nick Nolte was a cop who needed Eddie Murphy's help as criminal to help put somebody in jail. And Eddie Murphy's character said, this ain't no way to start a partnership. And Nick Nolte's character said, now get this, we ain't partners, we ain't brothers, and we ain't friends. I'm putting you down and keeping you down. So now, fellas, Philly missed this opportunity. They're going to bring Harden back. They're going to bring him back to training camp. They didn't trade him this summer. Harden has an overinflated sense of his self-worth in the marketplace. So I'm going to jump right into our administrator. Robert, all of this is on your desk. How are you reacting to this before I get the players' opinion?
That's a good one. I always felt like if somebody put their keys on your desk, you took them. Somebody puts their keys on your desk, you take them because if they don't want to be there, all that they are going to do is create as many headaches as possible for them, for you, so that they can get what they want. And I feel like James Harden is he wants out. He's going to show up in his fat suit and not play hard, and just he's gonna be a gigantic pain in the behind. And I don't know what the Sixers are going to do with him, because most people are going to say hard pass. And the ones that don't say hard pass, I mean, the Sixers are going to be lucky to get 10 cents on the dollar for him because of his contract. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I do know that you know, when they signed him in the first place, I'm like, it might not be the best decision.
All right. Will, you are the player. You have been in the locker rooms. You have been with volatile situations in your past, sir. What are your thoughts of the James Harden situation?
James Harden is who James Harden is. He's never changed. He's never trying to say he's trying to win. He's just trying to get paid. He's even said, "Hey, I'll go play in China," and he will go and get paid. And they'll watch him just dribble around, make buckets, and then they'll give him, 20 million, $40 million and call it a day. That's a dangerous man. Like, he does not care. And I think the scary thing is other superstars see that and they think that, oh, that's going to work for me. So I think the thing for Maury has to do is he's going to have to figure out a way to squash this, because it could extrapolate into a much bigger issue, especially with these younger superstars and making a lot more money as we move forward. So um, Harden he's using his stance, man. That is at the end of the day, he's owed that much more money, $30 million. Um, that's where the issues are. So I think it just becomes that they're going to have to be more considering of how much money and who they give that money to.
All
That's really
right.
See, and I think that's a good point that Will made. He has never made any bones about who he is. Never. You know what you're getting. Dude's a walking bucket. He's not going to guard anybody, and he is James Harden first. That's it.
yeah.
All right. So, what's James Harden got left? Well, James Harden is not used to people telling him no. Okay. And as Will said, and Robert agree, and so do I, you are what you are. And if this is what you've been allowed to do, why change? Harden also turns 34 later this month. So what's he got left? He led the league in assists last year. So that's good. He was a former MVP. But the reality is the front office is still the front office. And other teams are watching this. And as Robert said, you're not going to get money. You're not going to get a good trade deal. And Maury's job is to worry about the Sixers. Uh, Maury is also the guy that signed for him twice. James Harden is the one that opted into the $35.6 million player option, because if he really wanted to leave, he wouldn't have opted in and he had been a free agent. But wait, nobody wants that. So that's the reality. It's not the Sixers' fault that Harden misread the value of the marketplace. That's your business. And only 3 teams were engaged in talks with Harden, and none of them valued him as hard as Philly did. And remember Portland. How's this working out for Dame Lillard? Okay. And now, fellas, you got the league involved. Robert, you are an administrator. You do not want central office involved in your business. The league has launched an inquiry into the circumstances surrounding all of this. None of this ends well when Central is involved or the league's involved. So, Robert, now that the word is out that the NBA is investigating, which is something you don't want because Philly already lost draft picks for doing foolishness, tell me how you're handling this.
Oh, yeah, you really don't want people outside your organization coming in and trying to look at what you're doing. Of course, what are you doing that requires said investigation? I guess I that there's nothing about this situation for the Sixers that's going to end well. Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a thing. And when you give contracts with player options and the player decides to pick up the option, Sometimes this is what you get.
Mhm.
100%. So, Will, I want you to take me in the locker room. I want you to be Joel Embiid because he's only got but so much time in this window, and this is what you're dealing with. How are you? And they got the Maxi kid too, right? Tyrese
Yeah,
Maxey.
yeah, yeah.
How are they feeling with this? Put yourself in their shoes. What are they talking about before we close out this segment?
I'll go back to their stance and their whole big thing. Can you trust this process? It's kind of a question mark now. It's really it's falling, man. It's like Atlantis. It's like it's just falling. It's crumbling. You know, ever since Colangelo and Brett Brown were let go, everything's kind of just been going down, down, down. You know, you missed on Jimmy Butler. You signed all the money to Tobias Harris. You know, all this stuff is just going down. You lost what you call Ben Simmons. You traded for Harden, and now he doesn't want to play here anymore. So you're going to have nothing that you really have nothing that you did. You know, it's just it's a mess, man. And if I'm Joel Embiid, as young as I am, I have so many years to really make that push to the finals and push to be an MVP and an All NBA kind of player. I look at my options. I'm now again if they throw $500 million at you know,
You
then
saw what Jalen Brown got. I think I could get more than Jalen.
yeah, if he got 300,
No slight to Jalen Brown, by the way.
no slight, but Embiid can get $500 million if he wanted to. It just depends on if he like Harden. Do you care about winning? Do you care about money? So, but yeah, he has to make the decision now because this ship is on fire, and you either jump off or you play the violin until it goes to the end. So,
All right. So the bottom line, fan, there's not a big marketplace for what James Harden wants, and especially for the price Philly wants for him. James Harden has forced his way out of two other teams, and he's trying to do so for a third time. Sorry about that. The Sixers believe trading Harden for too little is nearly the same as him sitting out. So if he sits out, there's always a chance he can return. Once a trade's done, it's final, and he is on the last year of the contract, so they can hold this out until February, the trade deadline, and see if they can get something. But as Robert said, that's a lot of noise every day. Philly's going to call his bluff. And remember, fans, the NBA is not the NFL. You withhold services, you get tagged on for another year. And Harden did this to GM that actually like helped him the most. So, that's kind of weird. And finally, on a side note, Josh Harris is the managing partner of the 76ers. And he is also the new owner of the Washington Commanders. In addition, he is the managing partner of the New Jersey Devils. Hey, fans, for some homework, check out how the Devils have done under his leadership, too. And we'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE Project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student-athletes. As student-athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE Project offers academic and athletic services to support student-athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. Let's introduce fans to the FIBA World Cup for basketball, not soccer, that begins this Friday in the Philippines. So let's get you ready. You got 32 countries representing the World Cup. 5 from Africa, 7 from the Americas, 8 from Asia and Oceania, and 12 from Europe. A lot of NBA players on the rosters. And fans, I'm going to remind you, Will has proof. Coach Adams is a scaredy cat when it comes to things that have nothing to do with my own team. So we'll be watching, we're shaking every time somebody gets fouled. So here's the format, and NBA fans, here's a little preview of the in-season tourney that my partner, Coach Franchise, had no interest in. Teams in each group play each other once. The top two teams from each group advance to the second round, where they'll play the top two teams of another group. The bottom two teams of each group are relegated to the classification round, which will play the bottom two teams of another group. All teams carry their win-loss records into the group stage, into either the second round or the classification round. Top 8 of the second round advance to the knockout quarterfinals, where the winners advance to the semis, and then the championship. Bottom 8 play a series of knockout games determining ninth through 16th place. As for the classification rounds, teams will also play a series of knockout games to determine 17th through 32nd place. And in case of ties, point differentials will be used. All right. So we gave you the bottom line of that. Now, what's at stake? Spain is looking for back-to-back titles. The U.S. wants redemption after their worst ever seventh place finish in 2019. Hey, young people, they play basketball around the world. Okay, Serbia also wants to erase the stigma of a disappointing finish 4 years ago. Australia, fresh off its first ever podium finish at the Olympics, wants to keep this thing going. France finished third in 2019 and second in the Tokyo Olympics. So they're ready to get this thing going. And Victor's not playing, but he's going to play in the Olympics. So keep an eye on that. If you're into things strictly for entertainment purposes only, Will. The co-hosts, Philippines and Japan, want to put on a good show. All countries are looking to book that coveted ticket to the Paris Olympics. Notice I said Paris Olympics. So again, France wants to do well. And the top Asian, African, and Oceania finishers, the top 2 American finishers, and the top 2 European finishers qualify for the Olympics. Who are the favorites? Well, Canada is a favorite. The U.S., Spain, France, Serbia, Australia, Germany, and look out for Slovenia. Robert, before I give you some breakdowns, talk to us about the officiating in FIBA.
So, first of all, I'll say I don't know anything about FIBA rules. I do know they had the lane is different, the shot clock is different, the goaltending rule is different. There are some throw-in restrictions; they're a little bit different. There are 4 U.S. officials. One is Amy Bonner, who refereed fairly deep into the NCAA tournament. She calls a lot in the Big 12. There are 2 females who are NBA non-staff officials who are working the tournament, and then Matt Calillo, who just got hired into the NBA as a staff official. He's also working, and the rest of the officials are from all over the world. You don't typically see officials from your own continent when you officiate. So it's always a challenge when you have, some FIBA guy from Korea who's never seen, Jalen Jackson's spin move, sees it for the first time and isn't quite sure what to make of it. So there's always some interesting stuff with FIBA officiating. That said, the tournament that isn't going to be officiating isn't going to be the issue for people like you. I'm like, you don't want people getting hurt.
Absolutely petrified about these guys playing. So let's talk a little bit about Team USA and some of the other teams. Anthony Edwards, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Brandon Ingram, and Jaren Jackson Jr. are our starters. And that's who's going to guide us. So, Will, do you have confidence in Team USA with that starting lineup I just rolled at you?
Not right now. It's still early, so it's got to see how they kind of gel.
They're 4-0 right now, Will, in the little exhibition games.
I feel you, but the games are when you get deep, because when things get tight, playoffs, and when the games are tight, and when they're playing Canada, they're full strength. But I think they're going the right way. I think they're just being friends with each other. I think that's always starts with success, in my opinion. There's no sort of you have more money. Oh, da 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 da. There's no bickering. Everyone has their role. Even like Ant-Man, he's like, man, I play defense, whatever it is. I think they have a good amount of guys, and I think the coaches have a really good coach. So I think they'll take some time. They'll have their bumps and their struggles, but I think if they can continue to excel and grow, and then if we add a couple All NBA players when we go to Paris, we'll see what happens. But I'm very, very. It's interesting. It's kind of early for us. So
All right. So Team Canada, Jamal Murray is not playing, so that helps the U.S. Going against Canada. Canada hadn't qualified for the Olympics since 2000, hadn't medaled on the stage since 1936. But even without Jamal Murray, the Canadians are fielding their strongest ever team because Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is playing, and I'm scared, Robert. Oh God, why are you playing? But you want to, play for your country, and Canada can qualify for the Paris Games by finishing in the top two. So they're rooting for that. I'm still worried about him playing. So let's go to Team Latvia. Christoph Porzingis is not playing. Okay, but he will be present and he'll support the team, so he'll be there. Remember, Porzingis just signed a 2-year, $60 million extension. That dude's getting 60. Wow. Okay. So we got Team Canada. We got Team Latvia. Got a lot of NBA guys on there. Any final thoughts, Robert, heading into it? Am I just too nervous and I shouldn't worry that much, or you're scared?
No, I mean, I love watching these tournaments because the basketball is pretty good, but yeah, I mean, the World Baseball Classic in March, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Mets closer pitching for, I think he's Dominican.
yeah,
He's pitching, for his country and injured his leg. Mets lost him for the season. That's not the reason the Mets are terrible.
But it didn't help.
But it was definitely an omen. So you worry about that. And SGA and Anthony Edwards and all these guys. I mean, you're just like, you want to watch them. You want to see them play well. You want to see their countries do well. I mean, Canada and the United States are going to qualify for Paris. I mean, I don't know as the U.S. can win it with the squad they have, but I mean, they're going to qualify for the Olympics,
for sure.
which is really the goal. But yeah, I would worry a lot about guys getting hurt. That's especially because this is for flag and country. This is not for Benjamins.
Yes. Will, final word on that before we close out this segment. You played for me. You have heard the speeches over and over about where you play in the off season and all of that. Any thoughts from the player perspective?
I think the guys are just going to go and play. When you think too much about it, then you go and you get hurt. I think you can just go and play. And, I think we always think about, remember a couple of years ago, Paul George, when he broke his leg, gruesomely. Those are, but I think they'll play. They'll get banged up. They'll have fun, so just keep playing, keep loose. And it's good because it's actually, they'll be playing competitive basketball going into the season.
Mm-hmm. So that's a good thing, man.
Yeah,
when you play good players, you want players are going to play basketball. Okay, we know that, and again, Coach Adams scared of everything, but you want your players playing good competitive basketball, practicing new moves, bringing back something.
Yep.
But man, it's just whether you get hurt at the Y or whether you get hurt here, you're still playing a physical game, and you can't raise them in bubble wrap. So, with that, fans, one last thing. Doris, get on the mic. Doris Burke will become the first woman to serve as a game analyst on television for a championship final in one of the four major professional U.S. sports leagues. ESPN announced last week that Doris Burke, Doc Rivers, and Mike Breen are now their top NBA broadcasting crew. This is very exciting, but it's also melancholy because I'm one of the people who like Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. But one of the things that Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson was criticized for, I don't know if this is public knowledge, so I hope I'm not breaking news, is that they're very critical of the NBA. And the NBA has a $1 billion contract, and the NBA doesn't want to be bashed. The NBA wants to be celebrated. So when you got Jeff Van Gundy on TV saying, this sucks, when you got Mark Jackson saying, man, that dude's terrible, I don't know if that's kind of what the NBA wanted. But hey, again, congratulations to Doris Burke. No slander on Doris Burke on this show. I like her. I think she does a great job.
Yeah,
but,
I wish they added with Hubie Brown instead of Doc Rivers.
Hubie at like 1,000 years old is still breaking down the game, and I'm still taking notes.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
I'm with you.
All right. So, fans, when we get back, we're going to talk WNBA and the Hall of Very Good. We'll be right back on the iCoaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, there is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read. Former George Mason standout Fallon Campbell said, consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey. Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes. The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org. The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, there is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read. Former George Mason standout Fallon Campbell said, consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey. Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes. The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast, segment 3. Let's hit the WNBA. The Commissioner's Cup, FIBA influence. The New York Liberty beat the Aces. So the New York Liberty finally got some hardware because, man, they really haven't, won the big one. As the Cup winners, the Liberty players each earned $30,000, Will. And they will also now have defeated the Aces twice this year. So maybe when they do meet in the finals, that's anticipated, we might not have the walkover. That we anticipated. So congratulations to them. Next thing, Diana Taurasi joined the 10,000 point club. Diana Taurasi is the greatest scorer in WNBA. At 41, she's still putting up buckets. She's still averaging 19 a game. She owns WNBA records for made field goals, made three-pointers, and made free throws. And ESPN did a nice breakdown of Diana Taurasi's like methods of scoring. So I wanted to, briefly talk about this, and young players and coaches, go ahead and get your notebooks out and take some notes. So shot mechanics. Shooters are taught to keep the shoulder square, elbow in, fall lat balance, elbow elevation, follow through. And she does none of that. She says, and I quote, "You got to show up every day and you got to be willing to sacrifice a lot of things. It's not about reps, it's about feel." And that's what she did. So she puts up 400 to 500 shots at an uncomfortable pace, 2 days a week during the off season, and she misses a lot of those shots. She has to be very mindful of how much time she puts based upon her age. So you don't get to put your little Instagram video of you making every shot. That's not reality, and that's why I love Diana Taurasi. So anyway, creating shop opportunities. She's playing into her 40s. So she's learned a lot, and the game is very slow to her. Once the ball's in her hands, she has a split second to decide whether to drive, shoot, or pass. Notice this Hall of Fame legend, kids, says she's got very little time to decide whether to drive, shoot, or pass. In other words, Will, she's not at the point position, dribbling all over the place, eating up all the shot clock, pound, 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 pound.
James Harden would be offended if you said that to him.
And Robert, I don't hear anything about a cone drill either. So maybe I'm wrong, but the Hall of Famer thinks that you shoot shots and you make quick decisions, and that's how you get better opportunities. I don't know. And finally, the X factor. Opponents can study film and prepare for some things, but no one can account for the intangibles. When she gets hot or get into the zone, syncing with teammates, getting to her spot. Oh my God, she's talking about getting to her spot and zoning in and embracing the fact that she's Diana Taurasi. A lot of players want the benefits of being a star without all of the things that come with it. She's embraced it. So, Will, any thoughts about Diana Taurasi as she reaches a plateau that no one else has reached, and just a little bit about how she prepares to play the game?
She's amazing. And I hope that whenever she decides to retire, I hope she can actually join the broadcast and to kind of talk about the game. She looks like she's a very fascinating a basketball player. I would love to pick her brain. She just seems very interesting to me, and congratulations to her.
All right, Robert, any thoughts on Taurasi? And again, no cones.
No cones. I obviously, if somebody's able to stay around as long as she has, I mean, part of it obviously is being a little bit, I won't say lucky in terms of injuries, but she has conditioned herself and her body to where, for the most part, she's been able to avoid getting hurt. And I'm sure that a lot of that is the work that she's doing, and that's the bottom line. And you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work. If you're gonna hang around as long as she has, you got to do the work, and she clearly has done that. 10,000 points. That's amazing. She is one of the best players I've ever seen.
Yes, male or female, it's awesome. Okay, WNBA standings, and as we do every week, we group them. So the Aces and the Liberty are 1 and 2. Aces took some L's from the Liberty, and the Liberty keeps getting better. So those are clearly the two best teams in WNBA. The Connecticut Sun are what I like to call the Penn State of the WNBA. They're third, and they're going to be third. They're not going to be fourth. They're not going to be second. They're going to be third. Okay, and that's okay, but they're third. Okay, but they're a clean third. Okay, 4, 5, and 6. The Wings, the Dreams, the Lynx, and the Mystics. Who's going to elevate from this group? Somebody's got to separate themselves. And then 8 and 9 hanging on for that last playoff spot. The Sparks are, as the LTD song said, they're holding on. And then the Chicago Sky. Finally, we've got the race to the bottom and then to the top, because it's really not a race to the bottom. It's a race to the top. The Storm, the Mercury, and the Fever will all have the opportunity to pick 1, 2, or 3. And I'm good picking 1, 2, or 3 next year because there's players coming into the WNBA. So I'm not worried about losing. And if I'm their fan base, I'm encouraging them to play the backups. No need. Play the backups because I want Paige Buckets. I want Angel Reese. I want Caitlin Clark. Right. I want these players on my team. Okay. And I can't get them if I'm number 2. Okay. So sometimes it's best to do nothing. Okay. I'm not saying tank. I'm just saying let the young people play a little bit.
There you go.
Okay. All right, the WNBA playoffs will begin September 13th with the top 8 teams qualifying. And in the first round, they have what I call mini series, best of 3. Why are we even doing best of 3? May as well not even come. All right, games of the week. Friday, August 25th, the Sparks against the Dream, fighting for those playoff spots. And then Saturday, August 26th, the Aces travel to D.C. and play the Mystics. Might try to get a ticket to that, but probably not because .5's football team is, taking my time. And that's okay. All right, final thoughts. The NBA Hall of Fame class of 2023 is one of the best classes you'll ever see. Gene Bess, Gary Blair, Paul Gasol, Becky Hammond. Probably why they lost to the Liberty. She was probably still, on Hall of Fame duty. David Hickson, the Bulldog, Gene Katie, Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker. Pop is now a Hall of Famer. Jim Valvano should have been in earlier. Dwayne Wade, great speech. And the 1976 Women's Olympic team, the U.S. Women's Olympic team. I'm in the Hood Hall of Fame as a part of their first team to ever go to the NCAA tournament. I know what it's like to be a trailblazer. Those ladies, that's like 4 years after Title IX. And yes, I'm so glad they're in there. So before I talk about the class of 2024, Robert, any thoughts about the class of 23? Do you agree this is a good Hall of Fame class?
Oh, it's amazing. And did you see Becky Hammond's speech?
Yes.
That was something. And we've talked about it on here before. It will not surprise me if not one bit if when Pop decides to step off the bench that Becky Hammond steps in for him.
I actually hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Will, 2023 Hall of Fame class, do you agree that's a class right there?
I love it. It always shows me how old I'm getting. I thought I was a young guy. And then I see Dirk going in the hall. And I'm like, man. But it's great, man. Great.
And actually, side note, fans, this is a lot of Will at practice used to stick one leg out and say Dirk.
Yeah.
When he shot jump shots sometimes. All right. Dirk. Anyway. Yeah. And Kobe. That's another joke, but that's Dave Chappelle. Okay. So now the class of 2024. Here are some of the first-time ballot guys on it. Vince Carter, Joakim Noah, Tyson Chandler, Jamal Crawford, Kyle Korver, and Marvin Williams. First ballot Hall of Famers, first time on the ballot, that is, next year. Robert, is there any name that jumps off at you that says, we got to get him in the Hall of Fame?
Vince Carter. After that, I'm a hard pass on all those guys.
Okay. Will, what do you think? First ballot. Anybody jump out at you?
Vince, but people remember it outside of just basketball. He transcended the whole dunking concept that we now have in the NBA. And these dudes are crazy. I mean, these dudes make me even think I should have been playing golf and baseball because I can't jump with these dudes anymore. So he generationally kind of changed the game outside of and he was really good. He played, like 20 seasons or 21?
Now I'm going to pause on you now, Will. You know I'm about to give you my Cal Ripken, Darryl Green. He played a long time, but how long was he good?
I'll give you that. I give you
Again,
that. I
I'm
give
not
you
mad
that.
at you, but don't tell me how long you played. LeBron played 21 great years.
Yes,
How
yes.
many great years did Vince play? And what he win? But I'm not going there. What about these other guys? Robert, you skipped over. I'm looking at some
I'm skipping.
hard
I'm
pass.
skipping. I
Hard
see
pass.
skipping those things.
Marvin Williams, NCAA
Uh, no
baby.
way. No way. There has to be some. There has to be some women basketball players that could definitely get into this hall. I mean, this can't be the best. Like, there has to be other people that could be like, "Yo, do you want to get in?"
All right. So with that, fans,
I can't
uh,
believe
for
it.
for the next few weeks, the CK Save Project is doing a fundraiser of T-shirts for the Odd Coaches podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, our super producer Kelly will put the web address on if you'd like to support us. As a portion of the proceeds go to buy and find the balance books for student athletes. But if you go to CKA Save Project itemorder.com, you can order a fine OCP t-shirt. And again, we're no budget productions for a reason. Not that we want to be, but hey, any help can be great. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. We'll see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.